Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be slicing this surface into ribs and creating the assembly. So the first step here is to do a little math and figure out how many ribs you want and how much space is in between each rib. So again, I made a rough MATLAB script to come up with some of these numbers. I used just a general rule to come up with the number of ribs. I believe I use like, yeah, 5.75 ribs per foot just as a general rule. So in this case, my surface says 7 ribs would be an okay number. So I think I'll go with that. And then when I make these slices, it's going to be 2.27 inches between each rib. So we'll just go ahead and do that. This is easy now that we've made all the features. So we'll go into the top plane and we're just going to start making some rectangles. Uh, it's 7 ribs, so that means we'll need 6 rectangles. 4, 5, 6. And that will make all of our ribs. So now we can put some dimensions here. The first rib, well, all the ribs are 1/8 of an inch thick, so all of these are going to be 1/8 of an inch from each other. So I'll finish this drawing real quick, and then I will show you what's next. Alright, so I finished this drawing. All these dimensions are the 2.27764 inches that MATLAB showed. And that spaced everything perfectly out. So all these slivers here are 1/8 of an inch. So now we're able to exit that sketch and start doing our cuts. So for some reason, SolidWorks remembers my last selection for this, but it needs to be reminded to like refresh for some reason to do through all in both. So we can do that. And then it realizes that there's a whole lot of separate parts here that are being left over from that cut. So what we're going to do is just do this one by one. So we'll hit body 1 and leave that. And that is our first rib. So now we need to save as and start naming these. So I'll call this rib 1. And so now what we need to do is delete that cut and then do it again. And just go one by one, selecting the next rib every single time. So now this is our second rib. And be sure to not hit save, but save as. And this is rib 2 now. So I'm going to do that for all of our ribs, and then we'll be able to create an assembly. Alright, I just saved the last rib, so now we're able to start creating our assembly. So the first thing I need to do is actually make a spar, because most of the spars, if we buy a spar, then you're able to download it from McMaster-Carr. In this case, this is just a spar that we have in the shop, so I need to make our own part. And This is actually a 0.4-inch square spar to match up with the spar hole we just made in the other in the ribs. So I'll just go ahead and make this, and then we can start our assembly. Alright, I finished our spar, and now we can start the assembly. So I made the spar 36 inches long because, and that's obviously long for a horizontal stabilizer, and that is because for this one I'm making or we're making the horizontal stabilizer all one piece, so both the left and right side of the plane. So now what we're able to do is just take our ribs and start mating them to the spar. And I'm starting with the seventh rib, um, and I think that just makes it pretty easy because this one just goes on the end. So we can put that one in, and now we'll go to the sixth rib. So now all you need to do is just mate all the ribs together and make sure you put them at the same distance as you made the slices. So in this case, if we remember, it was 2.27764 inches. So I'll just copy that and put that into MATLAB and make sure it knows inches. So that's the first two. I will finish the rest of them and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so I went through and put all the ribs on the spar for both sides. Most surfaces won't have two sides, but um, that's pretty much it. So the big things to remember are just make sure you have the same distance between all the ribs as you made your cuts, and make sure you're doing it from the same faces. So my calculations were from like the inside faces, so face to face, not left to left or anything like that. So that's about it. In another video, I might show how to do some optional things here. Um, we can make this CAD look better, and it might help with some structural analysis later, but we might be able to add the stringers and in the wrap on the front on the leading edge. But for now, that's about it for this one.